This is Sybert signing into Kane's Wrath on the map Tournament Oasis for Game 1 in the lower bracket coverage of April. Strike in the north as the pink Marked of Kane. This is Booka. And in the south, playing the green GDI. This is Green Zero. Down here in the lower bracket, round 5, it's a best of 5. Round 5 and round 6 are both best of 5s, and then I believe it switches to best of 7 after that. So even though it is the lower bracket, these are still a little bit longer series. No best of 1s, no best of 3s here. Maybe in the earlier rounds, but not this far into the tournament. So it is going to be, a little bit of a more opportunity for everyone to recover, to change things up, and we'll see how Booka is able to do versus Green Zero. Getting knocked down to the lower bracket. Everyone, well, it happens to everyone except for, in theory, one player. But everyone gets their second chance, and from here, it is truly every match matters to the maximum amount. Your life is now actually on the line. You get the cushy upper bracket, get as far as you can, but now things get serious. Down here on Tournament Oasis, but not too serious because things are still looking pretty standard, pretty casual, and macro-oriented for both players. Green Zero and Booka, of course, no Marked of Kane flame units, so no flame tank rushes, which I feel like we saw quite a few of in the upper bracket. And even the games that didn't have flame tank rushes, they still found a way to mix a couple of flame units in here or there, but not so. Not so when you get GDI versus Marked of Kane. Maybe we'll see some Shatterers, maybe we'll see some Tib Troopers. We can get through the alternatives for flame tanks cooking in this game. But for now, very calm, standard openers. Harvester on the transfer, so I don't even think it's going to be second War Factory first at the natural or anything like that for Booka. I think both players are just happy to play this one out. Nice and slow and macro-oriented. Natural expansion is up for Green Zero. Harvester headed for the blue. Couple of bikes, couple of pit bulls here for each team. They want control of that center blue Tiberium, and the pit bulls are going to try and chase away these bikes. One pit bull does end up going down there to the buggies, but Green Zero is still confident that he can steal away this blue Tiberium safely. Maybe he takes a couple of shots from these bikes, but the pit bulls are pretty good guard dogs for Harvesters. Booka, he spots the Harvester. He has gone second War Factory after his refinery. Both players continuing to mirror each other in many aspects of their build. And it is lots of bikes, lots of pit bulls. The equivalent units on both sides of the map. Marked of Kane versus GDI has never seemed so mirror matchup-y as it is here. More pit bulls running around the map. At some point, I expect Predator tanks to come out. But I mean, honestly, it could be bike and buggy until we get tier 3, until avatars, redeemers, and maybe even some of those advanced infantry make their way onto the map. Not even in a foxhole, still finding a way to shoot a Nod power plant, as Booka might be just annoyed to death by that rifleman. And I think Booka has actually switched into Scorpion tanks before Green Zero has switched into Predator tanks. Green Zero is still going mass amounts of pit bulls out of 3 War Factories, as the Scorpion tanks are going to be backing on off. Decoy army is amazing versus pit bulls, especially when they get target fired and they spend a lot of rockets on one unit. Those decoy armies can really extend out the life of your army. Radar jamming missile fires off Another load of blue Tiberium stolen away by Green Zero. He has really been packing in that blue Tiberium. No decoys here as the Pitbulls descend upon the main base. That is 5 harvesters that were present in this field. EMP lands, only catches 1 of the Pitbulls, and the Pitbulls can commit. They won't even have to pay a very high price for this 3rd harvester. They might want to back on out after that. They might get a couple of kills traded back on exit. 1 Scorpion goes down, and that was a great exchange for Green Zero. The the counterattack on the other side of the map might just have to be a catalyst missile and not much more, because this Nod player is... What? Is not looking... What? Okay, there we go. There we go. He was gonna... I think he was gonna go for a scout with a decoy MCV, and then he decided, no, I'll go for the scout with a decoy stealthed harvester. And okay, he does finally get the kill on that refinery. That is what we were looking for ever since we saw that catalyst missile factory, the chemical plant, which, let's be honest, about 90% of its usage is, I'm going to call in a seed Tiberium, I'm going to call in a catalyst missile, which I guess seed Tiberium is just a different kind of catalyst. I guess, is it a Tiberium Vapor Bomb? Are they all catalyst missiles? They're all catalysts. They're just calling it different things. Pitbulls in the main, Predators at the natural. It's a fight of low-tech GDI units. No upgrades here for Green Zero. He's got other things to focus his attention on. Obelisks get deployed, and these Predator tanks get bashed backwards. But, of course, there's nothing in the main to stop these Pitbulls. That's exposed tech. That's exposed power plants. And these Pitbulls currently have free reign of the back line of this Nod player. Double MCV life is a good one for sure. And if these Pitbulls had mortars, that would be a dead tech lab from that Nod player. But as it stands, the Pitbulls don't have mortars, and Green Zero's late game upgrades are just starting to arrive. Railguns finish up. These Predator tanks are now more impressive, and somehow 3 of them survived. Over here on the left side of the map, I had no idea they actually were allowed to live, but indeed they have been, and they're going to get this MCV very low on health. The Avatar's 4 avatars, you would think. They would be able to deal with 2 Predator tanks, and indeed, eventually, they will get the kills there. Stop just short of that Stompy Boy, and the mortars have finished up just in time. The Arcs find their termination inside of that refinery, and on top of all of their friends, Pitbull's going to be going toe-to-toe with those Scorpion tanks, and Booka starting to make some progress, but it's only in his own defense. His avatars finally kicked away those Predator tanks. The refinery on the 3rd field was finally established, but it just feels like he has been playing catch-up for so long in this game. 6 Predators with railguns. Well, the EMP can certainly help even that fight up. The Pitbulls coming in from the side are a little bit harder to be able to EMP, though. And the Predator tank's going to be knocking down those power plants one by one to keep the Obelisk lights off. The Scorpion tanks have held the line long enough, but more Obelisks get deployed and more power plants get knocked down. So the Scorpion tanks don't have any backup. I really thought the Obelisks were going to come online at some point, but Booka placed a 2nd Obelisk in the north when he didn't even have the lights on from the first one. Now that is the last Obelisk that will be built in this game as Booka tries to counterattack. No, it's just Tib Troopers. It's not even a counterattack on the other side of the map. As the Predator tanks keep moving forward, the Pitbulls happy to trade their lives for some extra kills. More and more power plants going down, extending this fight so much longer than it otherwise would have gone. More Shredder turrets, more everything, all of it going down to the GDI forces that somehow still managed to escape. Double airfield transition as Green Zero has pulled out the typical 3rd base double airfield transition. Not something we see very often, But in this case, it is the perfect play to follow up these huge Predator tank Pitbull armies that he has been sending out. Rocket squads may be good, but he's not going to have nearly the numbers that he would need to deal with a mass hammerhead transition. Stealth field comes in on those avatars, and these Predator tanks, they may actually end up getting stomped and killed off by these 4 avatars, creating a Predator tank sandwich in between them. But honestly, some of these Predator tanks may still just be able to escape, as the avatars and the fanatics both use their bodies for the glory of Kane and force the Predator tanks to back on off. But it's not over yet, because, well, hammerheads have arrived. Green Zero didn't even wait for AP ammo to finish up. He didn't even get a huge unwieldy number of hammerheads. He just moved out with like 5 or 6 hammerheads, and he's like, all right, let's go, let's go, let's go. And he does get the husk. This disruption tower is going to be providing a little bit of shade for this base, but Green Zero can just buy more and more and more time. And especially with this Marv on the way, Green Zero has very little to worry about. Tier 2 gets rebuilt. Tier 2 gets knocked down once again. And Green Zero hasn't been able to finish off the game. Booka hasn't given up hope yet. But every moment that goes by, it feels like the GDI is in a better spot and the Mark of Kane is in a worse one. Avatars can stand tall against the ground units, but it's hard for them to shoot up. Their wrists just don't tilt in that direction. All right, Tibcore SAM sites, they do tilt in that direction, and it looks like the hammerheads will be pushed away yet again. Double SAM site in the south. If these power plants were visible, Green Zero would be able to knock them down one after the other. Did he ever... Okay, he did eventually get AP ammo. I assumed that was a bit of a mistiming because he was going Pitbulls and Predator tanks, and so skipping AP ammo early on makes sense. I don't even know if the guy built a watchtower at all so far in this game. Nothing that he had would benefit from AP ammo until he goes for those hammerheads. And now the Venoms suddenly are looking quite good. Marv, well, maybe not one Venom. Maybe if he had like 30 Venoms, that would be looking quite good. Marv and Juggernauts, all roads lead here. Magnetic mines get deployed, and these hammerheads are going to help clean up these magnetic mines. Engineers inside of that Marv going to be making sure that nothing too bad really happens. Juggernauts spawning in here on the front line as Booka moves over to his 3rd base, tries to keep his harvesters safe for now. And I guess he can, but he can't do very much about this line of fire that is headed towards his back door. One Tib Spike has already been captured by Green Zero. The 2nd engineer is on the way. Sniper teams, I guess, just because. I think Green Zero is concerned there would be a man spam transition, but I don't know that Booka actually has the time or the really the inclination to go for a huge man spam transition. But, you know, in theory, it could happen. So the sniper teams were called in to help deal with that. Tungsten shell has now been purchased, and the refinery placement has kind of slowed down Green Zero so much that he has gotten out in front of his anti-air. Well, another couple of Venoms going down there. Pitbulls hanging out back at home. They're not even concerned about the Venoms on the other side of the map. They're truly sitting this one out. Vertigo bombers on the field. If Green Zero didn't have 4 Tiberium fields under his control versus the one of Booka, the Vertigo bombers would be an exciting development in this game. And Booka, he has holed himself up quite well in this corner of the map. He has found quite a good spot to arrange his base, but it is going to be a very difficult thing to hold on to once Green Zero moseys his way over there and gets in range. He's happy to play this one out a little bit slow, a little bit cautious. Venom's getting cleaned up. Harvester's low on health, but the Zone Troopers are low on units. And the last shot doesn't come in. Green Zero missing the kill on that Harvester. The Juggernauts, the Slingshots, the Hammerheads, everyone is getting ready. And meanwhile, these Vertigos and these Venoms, they're just looking for any opportunity that they can get. Don't drop all your bombs. Okay. Are they going to bomb out the Space Command uplink? They might. They might go for it. 2 Vertigo bombers to kill a Space Command uplink. And now if this was the campaign, the Vertigo bombers would bomb out this entire line of Juggernauts and take them out in one bombing run. Well, the Hammerheads have been caught. Venoms come in, Vertigos come in, and almost everything survives. 2 Juggernauts go down. Booka finally taps out. The GG comes out as Green Zero encircles the map and forces Booka out of the game. And that sends the game here to Extraction Plateau, where we have yet another Marked of Kane versus GDI matchup, where Booka is looking to settle the score and get his revenge versus Green Zero. Because one game is never enough. The best of 5 gives you another opportunity, another chance to turn things around. In the last game, we saw a little aggressive attempt from Booka early on, and then suddenly it was all defense mode as Green Zero crossed the map with those pit bulls and kept the entire focus on the Marked of Kane side of things. Sometimes you feel like you never get the opportunity to do anything in the game. You spent your entire time just trying to bat away your opponent's attacks, smack them down, push them back, and you never got to play the game your way. Well, game number 2 is that chance for Booka. Can he find the way forward in this game? For now, things are looking very similar to that first game. And with Marked of Kane versus GDI, we're not necessarily thinking that they are going to be all that different. Love the EMP there from Booka. Delays the MCV move by a few seconds. Not significant, but it's always nice to disrupt your opponent if you can. Force them to... I guess you're not forcing them to do anything. You're just annoying them. You're just trying to be a little bit annoying. You're trying to make their plans, make their wheels spin freely, make their plans go very slightly slower. Not so much slower that it's really a big problem, but just a little teensy-tiny bit slower. And I mean, sometimes we do see players with Marked of Kane deliberately go for a couple of early awakened squads, 3, 4, 5, and they do manage to land those chain EMPs that can delay units and production by 15 seconds sometimes as they cycle through all of these units, and that really annoys their opponent. Even if it doesn't end up winning them the game, it is still maximum annoyance for the GDI player. Natural expansions are up for both players. Green Zero, no, hasn't gone command post. He is going pit bulls. Okay, second war factory is now here. A little bit delayed compared to Booka's, but maybe that's just the EMP talking. Pit bulls showing up. Same recipe as last time. Extraction Plateau may be a different map, but the ingredients are the same list. We got 2 games in a row with the same setup from these players. There's the additional refinery. So we have made it to full typical game mode for both of these players. Oh, okay. Okay, APCs. Where's the command post? All right, command post on its way. APCs, I like the inclusion of the APCs. We'll see if there's actually any rockets. There's no Hand of Nod. There's no rockets at all. So for now, these APCs are just going to be some extra damage. They're not pit bulls, and that's one thing. But yeah, no, there's no Hand of Nod, and it looks like tier 3 that's building on the Booka build queue. So these APCs, they're going to have lots of stuff to shoot at. None of it's going to be infantry. It's going to be all vehicles all the time for Booka. Green Zero moves out with his rocket APCs, or at least with his APCs and his rockets. Not really inside of the APCs currently. Scorpion tanks back on off. They're like, ooh, we don't want to fight a bunch of rocket APCs. We don't want to fight some Shatterers and Pitbulls and rocket APCs here in the middle of the map. Booka backs on up. He's up to tier 3. His upgrades are coming in. Obelisks and, well, nope, not obelisks. Shredder turrets, as he is probably going for supercharged particle beams. So those Shredder turrets do a pretty decent amount of damage, even versus vehicles, especially when you get the massive network of Shredder turrets. 800 little deployed turrets. A little bit of a decoy army in the south, literally and figuratively, as he did use the decoy army support power to spawn in some fake units. Obelisk is here, popping those APCs. Reinforcements have been called in by Green Zero. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, it's just one buggy harassing that field. And meanwhile, the Scorpion tanks making their way through the middle. Another EMP lands on 2 APCs. The first avatar is down. Help from the Shatterers and the rocket squads, but the Shredder turrets haven't even begun building yet, as the Obelisks pop APC after APC, Shatterer after Shatterer, and the Scorpion tanks come in from behind. Green Zero's attack at the main falls flat as he finds some damage, but mostly just his own graves. Try again, as Green Zero has more pit bulls roaming through the middle of the map. More rockets ready to go, and a third base that is on the horizon. Shatters, Predator tanks, it's all gearing up for another round of that same main base attack. Booka was able to deal with it once, but will he be able to deal with it a second time? Scorpion tanks taking a couple of shots, shooting their own shots. Yeah, 2, 3, 4 pit bulls maybe going down there in the exchange. Green Zero looking to cross the map, and as long as he can keep this third online, he can keep on cooking. I expect Juggernauts, Marv, all of the typical late game GDI things are on the menu. We haven't been seeing a lot of that multi-MCV life from GDI players in this tournament. We've seen it a couple of times from Nod players with Obelisks, but not a lot from the GDI side of things. Harvesters working away at that third. Main and natural are completely mined out for Green Zero and Booka. Predator tanks backing up. Avatars and Scorpions are like, man, we just got in position and they're already gone? What is up with that? And it would also be nice to see Booka go for a couple of stealth tanks. Hey, never mind, they're right there on the north side of the map. He might actually be able to find a couple of Harvester kills here. He's going to have to be careful. Crosses back through the middle of the map. Green Zero may not have rail guns, but there are white beams firing from one side of the map at least. And those supercharged particle beams thin out the infantry numbers just a little bit. The Obelisk eventually goes down, the War Factory goes down, but the Avatars are now here. And as long as the Shredder turrets can take out those rocket squads, the Avatars can deal with the Predators and the Shatterer. Green Zero is going to have to find a different equation that works out to a different result As the Reclamator hub has been completed, the Redeemer steps out of its cocoon and is now ready to spread its beautiful Redeemer wings and fly away. No railguns on the docket. No railgun researching has been started. Oh my gosh, those stealth tanks don't know how close to death they came. They spot that Redeemer or that Reclamator hub. Marv about halfway done. Harvesters full of Tiberium. Do you want to fire your rockets, try and hide in the corner of the map, or make your way out of Green Zero's third and go somewhere else? Rockets and Predators get pushed back. Venom's closing in as well. One Harvester down. AA battery gets deployed. And, well, that AA battery just doesn't shoot down as the stealth tanks find 2 kills in the north. Rifleman gets a kill. Venoms show up to distract, and they're going to be able to clean up the Zone Raiders. Sacrificing a couple of Venoms to get the kill on those Zone Raider reinforcements is more than worth it for Booka. Although maybe not to try and kill off Harvesters that he's not actually going to be able to knock down. Zone Troopers are here to keep the Harvesters safe, but of course the Avatars are taking pot shots from a distance, knocking down those Harvesters blast by blast. One more shot? No! Booka doesn't find the damage, and now this Avatar is kind of in an awkward spot as the Juggernauts launch a couple of shots and another Harvester gets eliminated. Booka has found his footing, has found his pace of game here in match number 2. Triple railgun inside the Marv. Only one engineer is needed. Tungsten shell has been upgraded. Vertigo bombers are a concern, but as long as they don't go too close to the base, that tungsten shell isn't doing anything. Supersonic airstrike fires off. Scorpion tank's going to be closing in on the main base of Green Zero as he has transitioned over to his third, and now he's going to back up his Marv. He's like, okay, maybe I went a little bit too far away from home. Maybe I wandered a little bit too far forward as Booka loses at least one of his Scorpion tanks there on the north side of the map. Booka cleans out the main base of Green Zero. Both players neck and neck on economy, 131k versus 130. Vertigo bombers come in, they find another Juggernaut. Both Vertigo bombers go down. With the slingshots, the price of any air units is quite high. The deaths aren't guaranteed, but they're very likely. And now we need the sniper teams from Green Zero. Enlightened squads are here. Not a ton of rockets, just a handful of Enlightened. And Booka is going for the long distance harvest. Would be great to see him steal the Tiberium spike rather than let Green Zero have both of them. But that's not what is on Booka's mind at the current moment. Redeemer with double engineer making its way back down to the low ground. Booka has managed to hold on to his main base, so he actually has that additional source of income, i.e. long distance harvesting Green Zero's main base, rather than Green Zero being able to harvest it. And unlike a lot of other maps, Extraction Plateau doesn't have a giant contested field that the Marv can just drive over late in the game and get a huge 10k income spike super late. Venoms find a couple of more kills, find themselves a couple of Zone Troopers. Meanwhile, MCV, oh, the MCV! Nope, never mind. Is that a decoy yes, that is a decoy Redeemer. Okay, that's why. I was really excited there, but the Rage Gen doesn't matter because the EMPs are what counts. The slingshots come in, but so do the Vertigos because the slingshots got sent to night school as it is going to be a shockwave artillery returning fire for Green Zero. He locks down the avatars, but without the Marv here, what is going to kill the avatars while their lights are out? The Redeemer stomping its way forward, and Booka finding the cross-map damage as well as the front line. He gets it all here in game number 2, stomping the husks, killing the forces, and knocking down the natural expansion of Green Zero. Green calls in the Zone Troopers, but with a low health harvester, well, 2 low health harvesters getting eliminated. What are these Zone Troopers even fighting for? Enlightened blasting away on the front line. Another slingshot goes down. Another Vertigo gets eliminated, but Booka has lots more where that came from. An infinite wall of avatars, it seems, and even Juggernauts, which are changing sides. And the engineers, they can run fast. They can't quite outrun bullets yet. Maybe in the next version of R1.02 Plus, R23, they'll finally be able to dodge bullets and just outrun the guns of their opponents. Booka doesn't really have anti-air, but his ground army is quite impressive with all of these avatars. He just needs something that shoots up. He is very worried about the aircraft of Green Zero. Zone Troopers, Riflemen, about the only things that Green Zero has left in this game. Wait a second. Green Zero didn't build a 3rd war factory. So Green Zero lost both of his war factories and his MCV. So Green Zero was deader than I thought, as he has no way to rebuild from here. So what you see is what you get. He's got barracks, he's got airfield, and that is just about it. Firehawks can't dominate the skies if they're dead. And the Spectre Artillery get jumped on by those Zone Troopers. Stealth tanks finally find their target there in the middle of the map. The Hammerhead won't be able to return back home, and this MCV may get jumped on by these Zone Troopers. Nope, it deploys just in time as the GG comes out, and Green Zero has been defeated. Booka puts a point on the board and sends us to game number 3 with an even score. And as we spawn in on the Badland Hills, some things never change. Green Zero is playing GDI. But some things, well, you gotta switch them up every once in a while, as Booka has chosen Skrin here in game number 3. Gets a win with Nod, and then says, no more Nod. At least not for this game. It's not for me. He nods off, and he goes to sleep. Now, one thing that we haven't seen yet is this natural expansion be taken by 3 refineries and 7 harvesters. I don't think I've seen that, at least in the games that I've seen on Badland Hills. So there is a possibility that there is a greedy play from Booka, and he goes 3 refineries, 7 harvesters on this natural, and he has just an insane, 20k income spike super fast in the mid game, and ends up with a gigantic bank that he just flushes into an army. And we have quite an explosive mid-game. But we have yet to see that so far. People have just been treating this natural expansion like it is just an extended base. You get your same setup that you get on every other map. You don't go super hard into the natural expansion. You just treat it like everything else, and it just lasts a lot longer. You play it the same, you just get to go for longer. Now, of course, in the last time I saw this game, it was Futurama who was taking over the middle of the map, choking out his opponent, controlling all 3 of the center fields. And I mean, in that case, it kind of doesn't matter how long you can last on this. Okay. Command post into the airfield for Green Zero. It doesn't matter how long you can last on this natural expansion, because guess what? You've got an opponent who has 3 additional fields in the middle of the map. But in this case, Green Zero is not going for either one of those things. He is going for orcas. I kind of thought he might be going for a double airfield build to really pummel that natural expansion. But no, he's just going for 1 airfield, it seems, just 4 orcas. And this is one of those things where if they hit it just the right time, they could get completely destroyed. Or they will find themselves 2-3 harvester kills. They'll be able to get home basically scot-free. And then they'll be able to come back and go in for another round. Green Zero, on the other hand, is showing the perfect fake pressure. You and I know that there is orcas behind all of this, and that these pit bull numbers are lower than they otherwise would be for someone who likes to spam pit bulls as much as Green Zero. But Booka hasn't necessarily put that together. He does have a scout out here on the high ground, so he should have decent vision of this. Oh, no, actually, he's been able to see this the entire time. So he knows exactly what's going on. He's got himself 3 plasma missile batteries and low power mode at his natural expansion. So he is well aware of what is happening. But still, these pit bulls finding a bit of pressure, finding a bit of damage to do on the other side of the map. And Green Zero did actually go double airfield. I'm not sure that he's going to go 8 orcas, but he did end up going double airfield. And, well, he's going to be returning to base as he looks for some kind of damage and maybe doesn't quite find what he was looking for at the end. Warp Chasm gets deployed. It does get spotted immediately. And these orcas, they now have found their moment. They think this is their opportunity to shine. Firehawks are going to be the follow-up, so it's going to be double Firehawk, double Orca on both airfield. And okay, Green Zero is hunting super deep into enemy territory because he is looking for the nerve center. He is looking for the snipe on tier 3, and that is a canceled Eradicator Hexapod. The tier 3 goes down, and that Eradicator gets stopped. Green Zero has executed the plan that he made up after the first plan didn't quite work out, and it came together really nicely. Snipes the tier 2, snipes the tier 3, a full tech reset, and a refinery was being built, so that delays the tech even further as Booka now has to transition back into the tech he already had. He has to get that infrastructure back up and running so that he can get back to his Eradicator production. And in the meantime, he's got tier 1 screen units to play around with to try and make something happen on the other side of the map. Blue Tiberium Harvester waiting to dock for Green Zero, and these Gunwalkers do not care. They're hunting for some aircraft, which are sort of on the other side of the map, cleaning. Oh no, he goes for the double nerve center. I don't think he did that on purpose. And the Gunwalkers getting shot up by sonic emitters and APCs, watchtowers as well, just to salt and pepper these guys until they are dead. The APCs actually kind of just getting caught up on each other, getting outgunned by these Gunwalkers who are now out of range of almost all of the dangerous base defenses. And this sonic emitter gets a pretty good shot off. 2 of the Gunwalkers going down. Another Firehawk gets eliminated. The Marv out onto the field, and the Reclamator hub immediately sold off as Green Zero goes for the late game. And he's shut down his opponent's epic unit, so he feels like he can get his own epic unit out onto the map. More Gunwalkers going down. The sonic emitters getting some massive damage onto those scrin units. Harvesters largely untouched. Booka, 14k in the bank. 11k more total resources gathered than Green Zero, but I think Green Zero is going to be wanting to go for one of these center green Tiberium fields with his Marv. Double nerve center. He can kill one, and I can still build anti-air. As the scan comes in from Green Zero, he does call in the Orca Strike, so possibly he's going to try and time his Firehawk drop-in with the Orca Strike while the Storm Column and the Plasma Missile Batteries are attacking those Orcas. The Firehawks will come in from the other angle and try and time everything out. There we go. That's the attempt, and he will find the kill. Another tech reset. Not a full tech reset, but the tier 3 goes down. So I hope you didn't want Devastator warships. I hope you didn't want a signal transmitter, as Green Zero goes full contain mode, not on the physical base of his opponent, but on the technology of his opponent, bombing out that tier 3 multiple times, shutting down the Eradicator Hexapod production, shutting down these late game units for the Skren. But does Green Zero have enough of his own ground army to counter what the Skren already has? Now that the Marv is back on the front line from having Marvisted up a chunk of that field, I think Green Zero will be able to hold this off. He's kind of running out of opportunities to pull this same trick again and again. You can do it a couple of times, but you can't keep doing it for... Actually, he can. He can deploy his Firehawks almost at any angle. And the only angle he can't deploy them in is on top of these Plasma Missile Batteries. And either Booka has to spend a bunch of cash rebuilding more anti-air defenses over here, or he's just vulnerable to the exact same thing that Green Zero has already done twice. I guess the question is, does Green Zero want to go for that again? Husk survives. Green Zero gets a tripod out of the deal, and I don't think he's gone for another set of Firehawks. So for now, the tier 3 is safe. The late game tech is protected. Booka is taking to the middle of the map. Green Zero still behind in total resources gathered. Growth Accelerator gets built. Growth Accelerator gets knocked down as Green Zero finds the kill there. And Booka has, despite all of the tech being reset, his economy has never really been touched this game. And as a result, he's here in the middle of the map. Everything that's not an Eradicator Hexapod is looking healthy. Everything that doesn't require that additional production is happy and ready to go. Zone heads roll up to the front line, once again revealing the air power of the GDI. Another Plasma Missile Battery deployed over there on the right side. And Juggernauts are going to find some pretty massive shots versus this drone platform. Zone Troopers get a couple of shots as well in the Marv, helping to finish it off. One random Plasma Missile Battery on the front line, and that is not going to be enough to stop this attack. Green Zero hasn't even eaten all of his natural expansion, and he's already looking towards the middle of the map for a third base that he can't fully saturate. There's still a ton of cash on the line for Green Zero to harvest that is basically under his protection, under his control. Devastator warship, one of them goes down. The other one is still standing, and of course, one drone ship is never enough. So we do have a now third drone ship on the way as the Firehawks take some shots at the Devastator warships, and it might be time to just go for the slingshots, go for the mobile anti-air. Plasma Missile Battery gets deployed. Firehawks taking a bunch of shots that they don't actually need to. One Firehawk ends up going down because of it, pays the price. And again, the ground army a little bit weak here for Green Zero. Booka finds an angle on the Marv, able to do massive damage because there may not be an Eradicator Hexapod, but there are tripods, and they may have Juggernauts that they're fighting against, but they can still kill a Marv in the meantime. Zone Raiders, Zone Troopers inside of these Hammerheads, they can't shoot those avatars, those tripods fast enough as this Marv goes so low on health, and finally Green Zero gets out of range of those alien laser beams, and the Angel of Death escapes. The Marv has backed away from the front line. The Juggernauts frozen in place by the stasis. The Disintegrators deleted, and only one tripod, two tripods remain on the front line. The Juggernauts don't back off. Green Zero is hoping his engineers can reclaim these husks and keep him in this late game unit composition. 13 grand in the bank for Green Zero. If he could find the support powers, he could deal some massive blows to his opponent's standing army, but his production queues can't keep up with his bank account as Green Zero forces Booka back from the front line. Disintegrator after disintegrator after disintegrator getting annihilated as they try and run around this war factory. Green Zero finally starting to spend some of that cash. Engineers reclaiming some of these late game units. And the MCV on the move. Green Zero still has a huge amount of Tiberium under his control. If he had more harvesters, he would have perhaps an even bigger bank, but he would have gone, I think, multi-MCV to spend it. Devastator warship knocking down that war factory. And the Marv back up to about half health. Doesn't have nearly as many tripods to fight against this time. One tripod down before the fight even begins. And the Devastator warships, well, they're good, but they're not the end of the road here. The Firehawks jump in and jump out, killing the Devastator warship just to escape the notice of the Scrin player. Green Zero, he has not let this game slip out of his grasp. Booka was nearly able to pull it back for his own victory, but Green Zero still has control of the middle of the map. 3 tripods step forward, 1 tripod makes it home, 2 tripods make it home, one of them very low on health. And Green Zero shuts down the economy of Booka. 175,000 total resources gathered, but so much of that is in rebuilding tech that you've already built and in tripods that are now gone from the game. Double sonic emitter on the front line as the GG comes out, and Green Zero takes game number 3. Booka drops another map and will send us to game number 4. And it's going to be Tournament Highlands that we come to yet again in this tournament. Booka returns to his roots. He believes Blackhand is the best place to go here on Tournament Highlands. And I don't even have to tell you anything about his opponent because the other side of the map, well, as stock standard as ever, as green as you could wish. It's GDI once again for Green Zero. Of course, we do see Green Zero play other things from time to time. I feel like in team games, maybe he's more likely to switch it up. But tournaments, it does tend to be very down the line with GDI. I feel like he has played a couple of random-only events, so at least in those contexts, he is willing to switch it up. Booka, on the other hand, you know, plays a game as Scrin, loses a game, says, hey, that Nod stuff was working pretty well. And I've heard these flame rushes on Tournament Islands. I've heard they're pretty good. So maybe I'll abandon my marked of Kane ways and instead go for the belief in the flame. Okay, he is not hard committing to this. He gets spotted. Green Zero gets a couple of shots off there, and well, Green Zero is going to have, once again, the best opportunity of anyone to be able to stop this. He spotted it exactly as it came out, And anytime a player gets this kind of a scout, they usually don't have a problem dealing with one flame tank. Trouble for a player comes in when it's 2, 3, 4, 5 flame tanks and they get spread out all throughout the map. Eventually, you lose track of them. Eventually, they find their way through. But here, Green Zero saw the sell-off of the Operations Center. He may lose the tib spikes to that Black Hand squad, but he knows that it's just one flame tank. Maybe a little bit later, Booka will send another one across the map. He'll be able to return the favor a little bit later and show us the true power of the flames. But for now, Booka's going double refinery, just trying to recover, just trying to follow up in a very normal way after that beginning. This is the almost guaranteed thing. No one, virtually no one, will ever build a Grenadier squad to come over here to get the kill on the Black Hand squad from the sold-off Operations Center to save their Tiberium spike. Sometimes they do save this second Tiberium spike because there's no garrison nearby, so APCs can deal with that Black Hand squad. But when you sell off the Operations Center, it is almost a guarantee that you get that one tib spike from your opponent. And, I don't know, maybe 60% of the time you get the second Tiberium spike as well. So Green Zero, he may have knocked down that flame tank right there at the beginning of the game, but guess what? He's not going to be able to rely on that classic tib spike income to carry him late into the game. I mean, depending on how light this game goes, this may actually be a significant portion of income that is being denied to Green Zero. The APC will eventually get the kill on this Black Hand squad, but it is going to take a little while, and of course the tib spike has already been cleaned up. Rockets, pit bulls, and predator tanks all present at the expansion of Green Zero. Booka, he's going bike buggy. He's like, that flame tank, that didn't really do anything. Let's go bike buggy. Double war factory, 3 refineries. At least he is getting some kind of refineries there at the natural expansion. He's not just going double or triple war factory and then selling his MCV, right? Okay, yeah, no. We have seen some players get 3 refineries and then 3 or 4 war factories, and with the extra income from the additional harvesters and the 3rd refinery, you can support 3 or 4 war factories producing bike buggy when you sell your MCV. And especially on a map where you have 2 Tiberium spikes under your control. But for now, Booka looks like he is just trying to play out this follow-up to the Flame Rush fairly normally. Green Zero, on the other hand, we're not seeing any AP ammo researched. We're not seeing any command post action. I kind of would expect an air transition from Green Zero. Not necessarily orcas, but maybe just a couple of hammerheads to help deal with any potential rocket spam from the Black Hand player. But we're not seeing that just yet. Well, we do have 2 portals and a secret shrine. Who could have seen that coming from a Black Hand player at his natural expansion? And Green Zero will have to deal with this eventually. Wow, no AP ammo anywhere in sight. So I do get a little concerned for Green Zero if he doesn't know about this man spam transition, if we don't have sniper teams, if we don't have something. Watchtowers, APCs, Shatterers, I don't even take riflemen or grenadiers to help deal with this infantry swarm. Because, well, guess what? With that Black Disciple upgrade, rocket squads are really good at killing rocket squads. Black Hand rocket squads are really good at killing GDI rocket squads, I guess. Maybe I should specify. But Green Zero has seen it now. So, AP ammo has started up. Command post is here. We may even see the presence of some hammerheads. Does have to be careful about all this anti-air that is present on those rocket buggies, or those raider bikes and rocket buggies. Something like that. bike buggy combo has some powerful anti-air options. Blue Tiberium Harvester does go down. Green Zero sent this engineer off, and then he thought, I don't have to worry about that engineer. And I guess he doesn't have to worry about that engineer because it died. So you don't have to worry about the dead men. You just have to send notes to their family. Green Zero, he's got that airfield on the way, but he doesn't have a foothold in the middle of the map. And to be honest, Booka doesn't have that much of a foothold in the middle of the map either. He does have his tier 3. He does have his Redeemer engineering facility also here. And he does have a lot of bikes and buggies, as well as some rockets, to keep it safe. Almost on cue, Green Zero scans as the most anti-air you've ever seen in your life swarms over top of this tier 3 and this Reclamator hub. Engineering facility, whatever. As the rockets cross over, the bike buggy crosses over, it's like, man, if you sent Firehawks there, they would be deleted before they even stratofightered in. The rockets would be so fast and furious that they would cross space and time to try to time travel and find the Firehawks before they even jump. But the Redeemer is now here. Green Zero in this kind of awkward position. He's been... I mean, he dealt with the flame tank very easily. He just has not been transitioning quickly after that. And he was not able to find any damage versus Booka in the early game. APCs might actually be able to just clear up this main base. It wouldn't be a huge victory, but it would indeed be a victory. 1 refinery, 4 harvesters, 3-4 harvesters all on the front line, as these hammerheads are perhaps a little bit too late to the party. If your hammerheads are only just now moving out and your opponent already has Tib core missiles, you are not in a great spot to be sending hammerheads over. Low power mode does mean Booka is losing this base almost for free. Sonic Emitter comes back online. Another hammerhead falls as those bikes manage to dodge another shot from the Sonic Emitter. Booka's main base may fall, but if he's able to knock down Green Zero's MCV, he doesn't have anything inside of that Redeemer, then that would be worth it. Trading an MCV for a base. Not the end of the world for Booka. Couple of rocket squads come in, Spectre artillery being born directly into the face of all this gunfire, but it's the shredder turrets that are actually going to be cleaning up these APCs there on the front line. Juggernauts firing their shots from a distance. Hammerheads circling the north side of the map. Green Zero looking for the foothold in the middle, and he's got the laser fenced MCV. He's got the double Sonic Emitter, but he doesn't have much more than that. And Booka is now up 12k total resources gathered over his opponent. And this is why you build 2 nerve centers, I guess, because your operations center also gets taken out. But it didn't. It didn't get taken out, and instead every single hammerhead got taken out. The opposite effect, as that operations center was basically turned into a bait. Green Zero went for it, and maybe if he had 1 or 2 more hammerheads, he might have been able to get it. Okay, yes, he does have AP ammo, so that's not the problem. But no, he just wasn't able to get it, and the bike buggy shows up, the SAM site shows up, just smashes those hammerheads. And that Redeemer needs to get himself some more health, and quickly. Decoy Army going to be absorbing a couple of shots here. And, well, they're not really doing much versus that Juggernaut, surprise, surprise, but they are wasting the time of this army as the Spectre artillery launch shell after shell. A lot of these shells focus fired on the ground, force fired on the ground, and having very little effect on the game. Rockets trying to sneak into the back door, and Green Zero has gotten tired of watching Booka harvest from this field as the radar jamming missile fires off, and the Rage Gen launches as well. Obelisk gets deployed. Juggernauts finally have something stationary to shoot at as the Obelisk gets deployed and gets knocked down almost as quickly as it was created. Rocket Squad's closing in. It's going to be a lot of dead Juggernauts if they can close the distance. One goes down, the APC as well, and that Mammoth, that Marv takes so much damage to the rear armor, and it goes down, never making it back to the repair zone of this war factory, and instead leaving these Juggernauts even more exposed to the firepower of the Nod player. Play Black Hand, win the game. It seems like an easy equation for Booka here on Tournament Highlands. Even a multi-pronged attack coming in here as he was harassing at the natural expansion as well. Green 0 goes up 2-1, but Booka evens the score 2-2 and sends us to the ace match. And welcome Blue Zone fans to Twilight City. I hope you like clean air, pristine streets, and GDI logos everywhere you look, because we are returning to the original form. No worries about a flame tank rush here, because Marked of Kane, they prefer Tiberium weapons to flame. And Awakened Squad's getting jumped on. Bonky bonk. As that Awakened Squad gets deleted, and Green 0 goes for the anti-scout, but not enough. Two Shadow teams get a kill on an engineer. They reveal their presence. They clean up two riflemen and take to the skies. Well, that's a good way to make that Pitbull kill your units for sure. They are going to be able to drop down directly onto the power plant, and unfortunately there is a watchtower there, so they will have to take to the skies once again, making those Pitbull shots just that much more effective. Booka goes for the Shadow Team rush, and it rarely works out. Here, he manages to get the engineer and the power plant, and honestly, killing the engineer is the more valuable thing. Denies that Tiberium spike. Ooh, can he get the EMP on the MCV as well? Just delay it. Be annoying. Nah, he may have already gotten it and we just didn't quite see. Booka delays his own economy, so the fact that he was able to deny that that Tib spike, that is great for Booka. You want to get some kind of value. You know, occasionally you'll see a player go for those Shadow Team rushes. Oh, EMP did actually land on the MCV. You'll see the Shadow Team rush, and they manage to get like 3 or 4 power plants. They manage to really just annoy their opponent, force them to just waste so much early game time and money rebuilding power plants, which is never what you want to be doing. But in this case, killing the engineer, that was the big deal. Power plant, that was sort of the consolation prize, especially since he's not getting any more than 1 power plant in this case. Green 0 on his way to his natural expansion. Booka finally gets his second refinery up and running. He is feeling better now that he has a slightly more stable foundation. Maybe a slow-moving game with that kind of an opener, but it is now progressing towards the middle of the match, and the Tib spike still remains uncaptured. Green 0 has not gone for a additional engineer to even up his Tib count, his Tib spike numbers. He's just sitting at 1 for now. War Factory on to the natural expansion. Green 0 not going for that third refinery. Going to be focusing on production, and well, guess what? His opponent is doing the same thing. Green 0's refineries and harvesters a bit faster than Booka's overall, at least on the main base. So the fact that he lost that Tib spike, it is annoying, but it's not the whole story. Green 0 is going to back on off. Pitbull's got their shots. They fired a couple of rounds. And Green 0 should have a third refinery. Okay, there we go. Third refinery up and running. Things are starting to look more and more normal every moment that goes on, despite the fact that there was a Shadow Team rush at the beginning of the game. Green Zero circling, looking for an angle in with those pit bulls. Natural expansion, looking comfortable for Green Zero. Looking a bit slow for Booka. He is strapped for cash, and no third refinery yet. Watchtower comes in, gets another kill there. Bike Buggy hunting the map. Finds themselves, you know, the random scouting rifleman. Scorpion tanks kind of getting jumped on. I mean, Scorpion tanks would win a 1v1, but this is so many pit bulls from Green Zero. Two of them do end up going down. Second Scorpion tank might fall. It's literally on fire, but the Scorpion tanks around it end up tanking more of the damage. This does buy some time for Booka to get his third refinery online, to get himself up and running there at his natural expansion. Green Zero pokes forward, and he gets the kill on yet another Scorpion tank. But the counterattack is one more pit bull going down. So a little poke and a little prod from both sides of the map. They're both trying to find that extra bit of damage because, of course, their tournament life is on the line here. 2-2 is the map score in a best of 5. The lower bracket has no forgiveness, gives no quarter. This is the end of the line one way or the other for both of these players. In this series, at least. It's the end of the line for one of these players in the tournament, but this is the last game of this series. This will determine the ultimate winner. Green Zero goes for the command post. Operations Center is here to match it. Green Zero, despite the fact that he was ahead on income, has been slowly being caught up by Booka. He's desperately trying to definitely trying to match the economy of his opponent because, of course, that Shadow Team rush is expensive. Another couple of pit bulls going down here. Two more get eliminated. Decent amount of blue Tiberium in the middle of the map, and I think one of the players is stealing it right now as this bike buggy circles around looking for the angle, and Green Zero escapes with a full load of blue Tiberium stolen from that contested field in the middle. Rifleman scouting, getting shot by these bike buggy units as they circle around. Tib core missile or supercharged particle beam on the way. I would expect it's supercharged particle beam for those shredder turrets, but it might be Tib core missile for those rockets. One harvester goes down. Green Zero finds a harvester out on the edge of that field, but a couple of pit bulls are going to pay the price for it. 3-4 pit bulls maybe going down here as they try to escape these attack bikes, pressing further forward. Nicely done there by Booka. He manages to get one kill, but he's left open an entire side of his base. His MCV under threat. His second MCV ready to go. And it's going to be shredder turrets that don't have the upgrade yet. They're just looking useless versus all of this GDI firepower. AP ammo, APCs ready to go. The rockets may be able to find a couple of kills here and there, but it's going to be a blue Tiberium harvester dying in the middle of the map as more shredder turrets get deployed. Again, no upgrades for these shredder turrets as Booka deploys and buys time, trying to cut down those rocket squad numbers, but he can never get more than a volley or two off against these rockets. Avatar coming in. Can he go for the stomp? EMP lands. Absolutely massive EMP, but the crush doesn't come through. The Avatar falls down before he can actually cross that first hurdle. And there is going to be the APC mine drop as well, taking that Avatar down below half health before the first strike even happens. And Green Zero cutting open the main base of Booka, shutting down the infrastructure, distracting the army, denying any future economy, and killing avatar after avatar. Meanwhile, Green Zero gets his own third base up and running, 2 refineries fresh on that field. And while he mounts a second offense here at the natural expansion, Green Zero retreats from the main base and puts pressure on somewhere else. It's Rocket Squads versus Shredder turrets, and this attack, I don't think, will break Booka. He can get a Harvester here. He could have killed that Harvester if he had had a couple of more rocket shots or the stealth reveal to keep firing after it left the refinery. But eventually, this attack will get pushed back. Green Zero harvesting more of this blue Tiberium from the middle of the map. His attack did make it a safe place to grab that blue Tiberium for his harvesters. And meanwhile, Booka, he's been living that multi-MCV life, but it may not even matter as the harvesters descend on the third base and the pit bulls descend on the harvesters. 3 harvesters very low on health, ready to get popped. 1 more volley will finish the job, and no, the pit bulls don't find the kills. 2 of those harvesters so incredibly low, but they don't want to overstay their welcome versus the Tibcore bikes. And the bikes get the kills anyways as the pit bulls get removed from the game one by one. The Rocket Squads on the left side of the map, they're defensively lined up, ready to go. Another line of rockets and shredder turrets going toe-to-toe against each other. APCs get EMP'd, and it's Green Zero who's ahead on the eco. Not by 10 grand, not even by 20 grand, but by like 25,000 credits here at basically 11 and a half minutes. Green Zero is feeling very comfortable with the economy in this game. And finally, the Marv is out. The Juggernauts are here. The APCs, the Rockets, those have been a fun distraction. Even the Pit Bulls, they have been a fun distraction. But the Marv is here. The Juggernauts are online. The heavy hitters of GDI have finally rolled into the fray, and they are here to end the game. Main base regrowing a decent amount. Green Zero may be able to cut that off, take it for himself, as Booka finds himself in a familiar position that he's already been in. 2 harvesters going down. Green Zero trying to add insult to injury as he finds another angle back into that base, and he manages to get the kill. The MCV is here, but that's not the real threat. The Juggernauts, the Marv, even the APCs and the Firehawks are the real threat behind this MCV move from Green Zero. Firehawks coming in, and the GG comes out as Booka has been defeated, and Green Zero steps forward into round 6 of the April strike. Booka drops out after a hard-fought 2-2, eventually dropping down as Green Zero gets that 3rd point. But let's jump into the other match in round 5. And that will send us back to Tournament Oasis once again, and this time in the north, playing as the Cyan Traveler. Welcome to Shoktrepet. And for the first time in our April strike coverage, playing the purple, playing the GDI, this is Rildcom. Rildcom making his way through the lower bracket. Will be facing off against Shoktrepet. And Traveler 59 versus GDI. Classic matchup we see all the time. But the curious twist is that Rildcom actually played random for this game. Maybe he'll be sticking with random for the entire match, but ending up with GDI versus Traveler 59, well, it is definitely a good option. Playing random against Shoktrepet's Traveler 59 is a bit of a gamble, although there are lots of people who do say that playing random gives you a pretty significant advantage. We'll see if that ends up coming to be true or not. For now, things are going to be looking pretty normal. Shoktrepet did not open up with any kind of descent rush, no quick, fast legs to cross the map and just immediately try and win the game. So as a result, things are looking pretty normal. Overall, both players kind of macro-oriented openers, quick moves to the natural expansion. Everything is as it should be. And this roll of the dice for random hasn't really amounted to anything. Seeker Tank out for Shoktrepet. More harvesters here for Wildcom. It looks like maybe APCs and rockets are on the menu. We'll see if this buzzer can do anything about it. Nope. The buzzer does get killed. Denied the kill of that rocket trooper. And you could see the way that entire interaction played out with Shoktrepet clocked that there was a barracks there. He's like, okay, it's probably rocket APCs. Maybe I can get a kill on one of the rockets and slow down this attack. But at the very least, Shoktrepet, even though he wasn't able to slow down the attack, he does know that it is coming. He also does have the nerve center. He can throw down a lightning spike. Maybe he actually will use it defensively, but he might throw it down offensively as he is poking around the natural expansion of Wildcom. Corruptor out there on the right side of the map. Seeker Tank's going to be pulling back through. APCs do manage to get a kill here in the middle of the map, but once again, Shoktrepet knows the position of these APCs. He is not going to be surprised by this. Maybe a little bit greedy, sending that harvester out to the middle of the map as these APCs are already here. But I guess the APCs are just going to let it happen. The APCs are not worried about that harvester stealing the blue Tiberium at all, which is kind of wild that he's just letting that harvester harvest all of that blue Tiberium, and maybe he's trying to create a little bit of space here. Seeker Tank's going to be engaging. Corruptor's doing a good job of keeping those Seekers alive. That Seeker would have been dead, and Tier 3 is now up for the Scrin player. So Shoktrepet, he may be slowing down his economy just a little bit here, but he is not slowing down his tech and his production. Mine Drop does come in. Another Seeker Tank goes down. The Nerve Center takes a full barrage of rockets, and one of these harvesters will die eventually, you would assume. It seems like they have to, as more and more of these APCs are getting low on health, and Wildcom may have finished up AP ammo, but he hasn't finished off a single harvester. Where are you going? That was a heck of a reverse move bug for that Gunwalker. Unfortunately for that Gunwalker, it is going to be his demise, but it will trade back. One APC goes down, and the rocket squads don't even really get any additional damage off. Corruptors, well, it is a trade position for tech, and now the tech has caught up. Storm Column is here, low power mode though for the Scrin player. Firehawks double airfield is on the field, and these Firehawks, they have one goal: delay this Eradicator. Eradicator is approaching 50% completion. Firehawks come in for a I don't know what they were doing. They might have actually just bombed out the stasis chamber. Since there weren't 8 Firehawks, he may have just gone for the stasis chamber instead of waiting for 8 and going for the tech or the warp chasm. Gunwalkers are here. A couple of Corruptors going to be dying. A couple of APCs getting low on health. A couple of Seeker Tanks also might be going down. What is this guy doing? He got to the party a little bit late. He doesn't get jumped on, though. So a tripod steps forward. Eradicator Hexpod has not been slowed down in any way. The tech still can be sniped by these Firehawks, but for now, the fight remains here at the edge of the Tib field. One APC goes down. That Seeker Tank from before finds a bit of damage, but the tripod gets eliminated. And for now, it's going to be APCs and Predator tanks holding off this Scrin force. They shouldn't crush that husk. they should have a very easy time of capturing that husk. And nope, never mind. Buzzer Swarm support power called in. The husk goes down. Decent amount of cash just wasted to get the guaranteed kill on that husk. Maybe if you got a guaranteed kill on the engineer and the husk, it would be worth it, but I'm not sure that that was worth using a Buzzer Swarm support power. However, that is what Shoktrepet has decided to do. He leaves no evidence behind. Stasis chamber is here. Advanced articulators most of the way done. Third base is not quite roaring to life just yet. Harvester is going to be long distance mining from that third. Firehawk's back on the move. Going for the refinery. Okay. Slowing down the economy of your opponent, never a bad choice. And especially when you've got a bit of anti-air to contend with here at the Tier 3 location. Shutting down the refineries, which are a little bit further away, is a nice, safe thing to do. Hammerheads playing right on the edge of range. Do we have EMP grenades? No, we don't. But I assume EMP grenades is about to finish upgrading. MCV has deployed. We have got a dual MCV, one from each player. Laser fences on the GDI MCV. Slowfield comes in. No sonic emitters just yet. Disintegrators inside of that Eradicator means that it does massive damage. Hammerhead's trying to swing in top past the anti-air defenses, but they just don't make it very far as the Eradicator now turns its guns onto the GDI forces. What color is GDI supposed to be? Well, with mind control, who even cares? As the Eradicator stomps its way forward, Grenadiers coming to the forefront, and their EMPs will lock down these units. But is it going to be enough? The firepower behind the EMP isn't massive as the mind control comes in and takes one of the Juggernauts away. The Sonic Emitter getting some heroic blasts off to knock down this Skrin army, but Shoktrepet just has too much. Grenadiers getting cut down by the buzzers, and the Sonic Emitter is seemingly all that remains for this GDI power. No, it's a second Sonic Emitter. If there had been more grenades to come in to lock down those units, maybe things could be different. War Factory goes down. Wildcom not giving up. He gets the kill even without the EMP. He gets the kill on that Eradicator, and he holds off. He holds the line, he pushes Shoktrepet back, and now Shoktrepet has a much harder time of this. The Prodigy is still alive. Mind control comes in. That's going to be one dead Prodigy. No, he escapes. Even with the sell-off of that Sonic Emitter, it just doesn't matter. Area mind control taking two Harvesters, but it won't do much other than just freeze them in place. War Factory is back up and running. More production can resume. Shoktrepet denying the third of his opponent, but also not taking a third for himself. He's keeping Wildcom corralled, and Wildcom is pretty much out of cash. Shoktrepet with 13 grand in the bank. If he had had production this entire time, he would have had a wave of units to wash over this base. Gunwalker's moving in. The Hammerhead is hard-pressed to get out of there alive. And the Juggernaut, well, it's a Juggernaut war. On both sides, the artillery shells fly forward, but the GDI has the better numbers. Shoktrepet leaves his MCV on the ground. He believes that he can hold this position and that he is under no threat. One of these Juggernauts extremely low on health. Triple watchtower on the front line. If the tripods could actually get up close and personal, they could end the Juggernauts, but it's a race against time as the MCV goes down, and Shoktrepet is suddenly just left out in the open. FaZe comes in to save the tripod, and the second tripod will eliminate the last of the Juggernauts. Gunwalkers blasting away at those Hammerheads, and the Hammerhead finally goes down. Shoktrepet, it's been a messy fight here on the front line, but he finally gets the kills that he was looking for. Harvester on the third of Wildcom, but it's an MCV versus no MCV. The watchtowers are here guarding against this Prodigy, buying more and more time, but it's tripods that are doing the actual killing. Barracks on the front line, maybe for engineers. The barracks might just be deleted. Blink forward from the Prodigy. No, the APCs managed to push it away. No MCV cap for that Prodigy. Back behind, it's going to be a Harvester going down, and Wildcom has been defeated. The GG comes out, and Wildcom's Blue Tiberium Harvester falls with his hopes of winning that game. The fight tooth and nail over Wildcom's third, Shoktrepet, coming dangerously close to losing that game, but in the end, he reigns supreme. I think finishing with like 17 grand in the bank. The problem was production, not really anything else for Shoktrepet. But let's see what happens in game number 2. And game 2 sends us to Tournament Highlands. Shoktrepet keeps his beloved Traveler 59 over here on the right side. Meanwhile, Wildcom switches it up from random, from GDI, over to Marked of Kane for, I guess, a classic matchup here, but one that, again, will not feature any flame rushes. Perhaps Wildcom wants to play a little bit more aggressive. He wants to utilize the bike buggy strats that work well on this map, but he will have to be doing it without any kind of flame weaponry. EMP might be a bigger factor here in this game, even than it was in that last game. Perhaps we'll get to see the appearance of Vertigo Bombers as well. Wildcom doesn't seem shy about using units that some players try to play without. They try to play around in a more direct, ground-based approach. We saw Wildcom actually busting out EMP Grenadiers, a unit that most players just would rather avoid and play around than utilize the benefits of. Second refinery up. Buggy coming in for the scout. So yeah, hopefully Wildcom is going to be busting out Vertigo Bombers, maybe some advanced infantry, some stuff that we don't see as often from the more straightforward through-the-door approach that a lot of people take with Marked of Kane. 5 Harvesters. Where's the 5th Harvester? Only about halfway done for Wildcom. But everything is looking exceedingly normal and very typical for both players. The scouting buggy from Wildcom will just kind of confirm that nothing unusual is happening. Scouting buggy is going to see nothing too unusual. He might do a little harvester count and be like, wait, is there a harvester on the Blue Tiberium? Where is that 5th harvester? And that would be the only thing that kind of indicates that perhaps some aggression might be coming, or Wildcom just actually missed his 5th harvester, which I don't think he did. I'm kind of more suspecting that I must have missed it somewhere out on the minimap. Okay, there is harvester number 5. It was just delayed a little bit. A couple of bikes, couple of buggies coming out instead. And now the first refinery is actually there on the natural expansion. So Wildcom is just going to be cooking with 4 harvesters, 2 refineries at his main base in order to send more harvesters over to his natural expansion a little bit more quickly. Buggy is here. A couple of Seekers, 1 Gunwalker for now. EMP does not land. Awakened Squad does go down. Bike's going to try and stay out of range of those Seeker tanks at least a little bit. Second War Factory is up, so these Harvesters can heal up very quickly. Right here on the front line, EMP could be massive. Nope, there's the split. EMP completely whiffs here as more Seekers, more Gunwalkers come in here. On the other side of the map, Shoktrepet establishing his own natural expansion, even bringing in the Lightning Spike. So with the repair drones, with the Seeker tanks, this is a pretty massive commitment to this attack, and these Awakened Squads just cannot stay alive. Another buggy goes down, another Seeker tank crosses over. The Lightning Spike with that consistent DPS as these Harvesters get lower and lower. Every single EMP is missing. Shoktrepet is becoming an expert in dodging those shots as the Harvester goes down, and the Seeker tanks will eventually be eliminated. A third War Factory on the front line, and another Awakened Squad gets eliminated. The EMP lands on the Lightning Spike. That boy can't dodge. And has the damage been done? Perhaps not enough damage that Shoktrepet would be happy with it, but he is currently up 2K in total resources gathered, a little bit of an edge, but he's also got his tier 3 finished up. The question is, the bounce back, the cross map, can Wildcom do the damage? Can he settle the score and even things up? He was hoping to find a blue Tiberium harvester there in the south. It turns out it's actually in the north, transferring over from the main base to that northern blue Tiberium field, stealing that cash from there. Portal gets deployed. Slow field on top of all of these bikes. One harvester almost certainly will go down as the second volley comes in. More harvesters are vulnerable, but this slow field is buying so much time for Shoktrepet to respond. Photon cannon gets deployed. Buggies shut down any hope of disintegrators, and these bikes, some of them finally make it out of the slow field and get off their regular attacks on that harvester. 2 harvesters down, more seeker takes for the defense, and of course the tier 3 upgrades now coming in for Shoktrepet. He's got the shard launchers, and his DPS just got a big upgrade versus these light nod units from the other side of the map. Buggies going down on exit. Bikes being eliminated as they approach the attack. Another lightning spike gets deployed. Another harvester being hunted down. And Wildcom will find yet a third harvester kill, but at what cost? So many bikes and buggies have gone down. His own economy at his natural expansion is not well established, and instead he's going for the blue Tiberium that has already been partially harvested by Shoktrepet. He doesn't realize that, but there's more cash in the south if he had only had gone for that direction. Seeker tanks get clobbered. Bikes trading out, barely keeping their head above water versus these Seeker tank swarms that are coming in. Now, 14,000 credits of difference in total resources gathered. Shoktrepet increasing his income lead against Wildcom. And the Operations Center just now finishing 7 minutes into the game. And Wildcom still hasn't even caught up on the tech that Shoktrepet has. Seeker tanks coming in, a couple of disintegrators here, nearly unmatched because the buggies have almost all gone down. Seeker tanks getting locked down, the EMP helping to hold this off, but it still feels like Wildcom is playing from the back foot. Even if he kills all of these units, he's still just in recovery mode. He's in damage control mode, trying to make this blue Tiberium work as much as it can for him. Bikes finally in good enough numbers to push back these Seeker tanks. Refinery on the front line, but that's not always a good thing. Sometimes the first player to expand to the middle is the one that just gets hammered until they are broken open. Bikes pulling down to the south. A couple of bikes getting trimmed from this army before another fight can begin. Harvester gets phased. Easy save here for Shoktrepet. Bike swinging in. Couple of harvesters here. Another lightning spike called in. Shoktrepet has the cash to defend all of these locations with static D. He may be losing a harvester, but he's going to make these bikes pay for it dearly. And that's a harvester full of Tiberium, but this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bikes going down. Every single unit gets eliminated. No, 3 bikes may manage to escape, but they're so low on hit points that they cannot re-engage any time soon. And in the meantime, everywhere that you look, Shoktrepet has more and more units crossing out over the map, and Wildcom never got his economy back online at his natural expansion. He got up to tier 3 eventually, but the swarm is here, the horde is coming, and are you ready for it? Shoktrepet is not giving up lightly. He is not going to just sit back and let Wildcom build up for as long as he wants. Disintegrators and Seeker tanks would normally be crushed by avatars, but he's got the numbers. No, the stealth field comes in, a massive blow to the active army, but the war factories have already been eliminated. The production is gone, and the front line is here to stay. More disintegrators rushing across the map to reinforce. 14k per minute for shoktrepet, and he is putting it to good use. Engineers capturing the avatars, turning them to the side of the screen and utilizing their lasers for the end of the game as the GG comes out, and shoktrepet gets a win here on game number 2. An overwhelming flood that washes over Wildcom and washes away his hopes of winning on Tournament Highlands. When you play the game, sometimes you just have to swing for the fences. And that's what Wildcom is doing as he chooses GDI here in game number 3. The other side of the map, well, it's not all that different. It is a little different as shoktrepet has gone for Reaper 17, and yet is opening with disintegrators. And this might just be to try and secure these tib spikes in the middle of the map. This is Smashed Dust Bowl, where you do have the safety tib spikes in the corner, and you also have the poker tib spikes in the middle of the map. shoktrepet, he wants that poker tib spike in the middle of the map. He does manage to get the kill on the rifleman squads. But shoktrepet is also playing random in this game. So he did not choose Reaper 17. He did not choose this faction for game number 3. And instead, he let luck decide it for him. Engineers going to be coming out from Wildcom. I really love this. It does telegraph that, okay, I went command post immediately. I went airfield immediately. I am very weak back at home. But this hammerhead and the riflemen are going to have a pretty easy time cleaning up these disintegrators. One squad might get a couple of shots on a harvester. No, he didn't even. He didn't even get close enough to that harvester to fire those lasers. And after all is said and done, Wildcom has 4 Tiberium spikes, and I absolutely love that for Wildcom. I am worried about the next 2 minutes because there is not a lot going on in the Wildcom base. It is quite an investment to get the airfield, get the command post, get the airfield, call the aux transports. That does cost a couple hundred per each aux transport. Okay, 200 for the transport. So that is 600 just in the transports for those engineers. And it does take a little bit of time to get that money back in your wallet. I do love this hammerhead showing up, tagging these harvesters, knocking their shields off. If we end up seeing some pit bulls as a follow-up, they might have a few less volleys. Where are you going, MCV? Where are you? What is going on? Blue Tiberium gets stolen by shoktrepet, and Wildcom says 2 games in a row. Hey, I'd like that blue Tiberium. I'm not sure what Wildcom is cooking. This is quite an aggressive MCV move for someone who has a weakened economy at the start of the game. This is one of those things where over time, Wildcom's 4 tib spikes will give huge benefits, but for the first 2-3 minutes of the game, he just has less harvesters than his opponent. 2 harvesters at the natural expansion for shoktrepet. 5-6 harvesters in the main. Yeah, he's got like 3 harvesters. I think it's 8 total harvesters for shoktrepet. And for a brief moment, Wildcom was ahead on total resources gathered. But with these additional harvesters coming online, with the blue Tiberium being captured by shoktrepet, shoktrepet is now up 3k in total resources gathered, which guess what that means? More production, more descents, more lightning spikes, more shard walkers, and pretty much all of this stuff is decent versus hammerheads as well. Not the disintegrators. Those are terrible versus hammerheads. First Predator tank goes down. 4 do remain. Where is this Harvester going? Oh no, the Harvester up to the front line and tanking some shots, and I guess that buys a couple of extra shots for these Predator tanks, but I don't think that was intentional. I think that Harvester was supposed to get some blue Tiberium and just overshot his target. Dev tanks charged up with that green Tiberium beam. Another Predator tank goes down. Photon cannons ready to tango with these watchtowers as the dance continues between Wildcom and Shoktrepet. Unfortunately for Wildcom, this is where Shoktrepet is strongest. The War Factory, the portal, all of the production has been focused here, and maybe he had been able to do something if it was over here where there is no War Factory, where the walk time is a little bit further, but it's going to be a War Factory for both players. Predator tanks versus charged up disintegrate Dev tanks, but it's not just Dev tanks, it's also the photon cannons, the lightning spike, the shields on the harvesters. All of these things add up to be a slower kill for Wildcom. He needs to get this damage done, and he needs to do it now. He's now 6K behind in total resources gathered. He's down 0-2 in this series, but he is not giving up. The phase saves one harvester, but one harvester, it was too slow to save. And Shoktrepet, he needs to slow this down. Maybe he doesn't even need to. He's up to tier 3 already. He doesn't have to worry about clearing out this force slowly so that he can rebuild at his natural expansion. He's just going to keep holding right here, right now, because one tripod is out and a second is dangerously close to emerging. Maybe the charged shots have run out, but the courage of this tripod has not evaporated. And that harvester is super low on health, but will still refine that Tiberium. Two more harvesters extremely low on health, and they may go down, but at the same time, how many units will Wildcom lose for that exchange? Tripods coming forward. Dev tanks going toe-to-toe. A fresh lightning spike to absorb the shots of these Predator tanks. And the game doesn't get better from Wildcom from here. So this is do or die. He needs to make this work. Two tripods down. An engineer would be amazing here for Wildcom to recover those husks. But no, he kills them off instead. The Predator tanks swarming forward. Riflemen trying to swing in from behind to do what they can. Add anything that they must. Harvesters now going down. One harvester dead. The War Factory still remains. The tripod production remains unchanged. And if Wildcom had killed off that War Factory, at least the tide would turn. Wildcom, desperate to get another tripod kill, pushes forward. Two tripods at once, now blasting those lasers. Wildcom now has to contend with a storm column as well. Fresh tripod goes down. Harvester gets eliminated. Storm column could be the next target as another harvester walks to the front line and he gets blasted. This Dev tank landing shot after shot. He's not charged up, but he still lands the kills. Tank after tank falling to this one Dev tank who is forever out of range. And the stasis locks down 5 Predator tanks inside of its radius. Shoktrepet getting a brief breather. Predator tanks coming out. The production is slow. Tripod about halfway done. And there's the resume. Fresh engineer onto the front line. The tripod is back up and running, and the fight resumes. No watchtowers to add additional DPS to this army. One Predator tank gets left out to dry and he goes down. Every Predator tank matters so much in this fight. No rockets. No real infantry support for these Predator tanks. It's just tanks versus aliens, lasers versus cannons. Another storm column comes up. The beams have been recharged and the tanks expire so quickly. 3 tripods feels like just too much. The tripod numbers outranging and outgunning these Predators as it is now 4-3, but it just doesn't matter. Wildcom has moved his MCV. He's taken his natural expansion. He's hoping that he can macro out of this one and give himself another chance. He is going to be fighting from the back foot. He's going double airfield, but it's not Firehawks, it's Orcas. Maybe he can get the jump on the Eradicator. It's still a little ways from finishing up. Shoktrepet has been able to maintain an economic advantage, but that doesn't last forever. He's expended a lot of resources in maintaining this base. He never had to rebuild that War Factory, but he had to rebuild a lot of units. Orcas move out. Without the Shard Walkers, these Orcas are incredibly powerful, but with the Shard Walkers, the Orcas can be contested. One tripod will go down. The Orcas get the jump on the first. Oh, that's a double vet dev tank as well. The first Shard Walker goes down, and the rest of the Shard Walkers are in the middle of the map. Orcas find another tripod kill. They will trade back 1, 2 Orcas maybe for that. 2 Orcas go down. A third Orca takes a couple of shots there, and the husks being cleaned up. 1 sacrificial Orca to make sure that those husks can't be recovered is important for Wildcom. Orca strike comes in. It's going to be a complete miss here from Wildcom. Engineer coming in. Orca swings in, and he'll get the kill on the husk. Nicely done there by Wildcom. Denies the engineer from capturing that husk. MCV over at the third base location. Eradicator Hexapod almost out. Moments away from finishing. And the tier 3 will be targeted, but it's just too late. The Orcas will get the kills, and at the cost of 3 Orcas. Eradicator Hexapod already out on the field. The Warp Chasm has been sold off. The Tier 3 has been eliminated. Wildcom has given himself another chance at this game, and he has slowed down the third base of Shoktrepet, but he didn't slow down the tech of Shoktrepet before the Eradicator. Triple airfield, still quadruple Orca production. Feels like it's so many Orcas in this game. Main base now being assaulted. Wildcom may just have to give this one up. With the Orcas, he may be able to trade out versus the Shard Walkers, but the Shards are going to be able to clean up a good number of Orcas. 3 go down. There's a 4th and a 5th get eliminated. 6, 7, 8 go down. 2/3 of the Orcas get cleaned out of the sky as these Shard launchers find massive value. 11 minutes into the game, they have their hero moment and blast those GDI aircraft out of the sky. The Eradicator Hexapod now has the anti-air support that it needs. And Shoktrepet never giving up. Massive defense at his main, never losing too much. And now he's got the Eradicator out here on the front line. The Hammerhead goes down trying to load up those zone troopers, and the zone's now facing the Shard Launchers 1-to-1, not able to stand up against the ground army of the Skrin. Wildcom had an amazing fight in this game, at one point controlling 4 Tiberium spikes, camping out on his opponent's main base, but in the end, the Eradicator Hexapod was the one thing that he couldn't deal with. I love the transition into the triple airfield, the Orcas being produced so incredibly quickly. I wish they would have had the opportunity to fight this Eradicator, but it just wasn't meant to be, and the GG comes out. Wildcom will not go quietly into the night, but he will fall from the tournament as Shoktrepet advances on into round 6. The scoreline may have been a clean 3-0, but Wildcom put up one hell of a fight in those 3 games. Massive shout out to Wildcom for the fight that he put up, but in the end, it is Shoktrepet who advances into the next round. And we're here on Tournament Oasis once again, this time in round 6 of the lower bracket. You've already seen these players, but you have not seen this best of 5. In the north, playing the green GDI, this is Green 0. And in the south, playing the yellow, dropping down from the upper bracket, this is Dimitri. Dimitri and Green 0 have already met once in this tournament in the upper bracket quarterfinals. And I guess if you haven't seen that video, well, I guess the spoilers are already here a little bit. But, all right, your opportunity's over. Now I'm really going to spoil it for you. Dimitri narrowly won that series. It was a best of 5, just to remind you. and it was 3-2. So it definitely could have gone either way, and the rematch here in the lower bracket is Green Zero's opportunity for revenge. Will he knock Dimitri out of the tournament, or will Dimitri get the 2-0 in series versus Green Zero and kick Green Zero out of the upper bracket and out of the tournament entirely? Either way, one of these players goes home after this match. Of course, Green Zero just carved his way through Booka and now has advanced here versus Dimitri, waiting for him, dropping down from that upper bracket. MCV on the move. Natural expansions coming up. Blackhand versus GDI. Always the hope of some flame weaponry. But for now, Green Zero has spotted the expansion of Dimitri. He has determined that there was no rush. And I'm sure Green Zero also sent a scouting rifleman earlier, so he confirmed that there wasn't an early rush. But there is going to be some aggression. War Factory gets deployed before third refinery. So it is going to be a little boost of units. Just because the second War Factory is before the third refinery doesn't always mean it's going to be some kind of all-out attack. Sometimes it is just to get that production queue online a little bit quicker. In this case, we'll see how many bikes and buggies actually cross the map. For now, it's aggressive posturing, but also I think Dimitri was hoping that Green Zero was going to be dropping refinery first. So the bikes and the buggies were going to roll up to that natural expansion and find themselves an undefended harvester. Green Zero, of course, drafted the War Factory first, and so the plan has gone awry. One pit bull down. One bike traded back, a second bike dropped as well. So it's a 2-for-1 for Green Zero. Gets himself 2 kills on those bikes. Refinery up and running. War Factory as well. Dimitri, 10 seconds perhaps ahead of Green Zero on these timings, but not necessarily enough of a difference to make a big difference. Mass Pitbull, the choice for Green Zero. Perhaps now that the natural expansion is set up, I was kind of expecting that to be a command post, but we can still see the command post. We can still see the airfield switch up, maybe a double airfield switch up to go with these Pitbulls, or just stay with the Mass Pitbull until we get to Tier 3, until we get mortars added on. And no, Dimitri has not gone ultra aggressive. He did get that second War Factory, but he poked and he prodded. He saw no real easy opportunities, and so the response is a second refinery at the natural expansion. Typical harvester production. He is ecoing and now teching, I assume, after that. Mass Pitbulls crossing back. Green Zero poking around the middle of the map. May decide to go for the blue Tiberium now that he's got the units moving through the middle. And it's Mass Pitbull versus the bike and the buggy. They are ready and waiting. Dimitri knew where this army was going to show up, or he just got lucky with the positioning there. And Green Zero going to be trading out a couple of Pitbulls as he retreats away from the front line. No APCs, no Predator tanks mixed into this army. It is pure Pitbull here in the middle. AP ammo has started up. The command post has made its appearance on the GDI side of the map. And is it a rush to Tier 3? Is it a rush to multi-MCV? The answer so far is no. Dimitri is severely delaying his tech and instead deploys a third War Factory to really amp up his production. Normally, we don't see the third War Factory emerge that quickly from a Nod player. Normally, the third War Factory is actually the Reclamator hub, or the Redeemer Engineering Facility, to get the Redeemer out. Buggies descending upon these rockets. No APCs will be garrisoned by those rockets. First Harvester goes down. The bike swinging out large, and they will find a couple of kills. A couple of APCs getting targeted as well. A couple of last rockets on exit, nearly wiping out those APCs from the map. Pitbulls repositioning, helping to hold this off. No watchtowers drafted just yet. and instead Dimitri will pivot over to the main base, swing out wide with these bikes and these buggies. No real terrain to inhibit him, and look for a potential angle here at the main. Still no watchtowers coming in to add to this defense. It's just about the pit bulls for Green Zero. Dimitri pushing in a little bit further. No harvesters are here. They've long been evacuated. Double watchtower gets deployed, and the bikes mostly clean up the pit bulls, but the peppering damage from the watchtowers are going to even up that kill count between these units. 0 pit bulls survive. Okay, no, 2 pit bulls did manage to survive on the north side of that war factory. And the third base, is it here to stay? Nope, he just deployed on the other side of that tib field. And that is where the tech has also been deployed by Dimitri. Tib core or supercharged charged particle beam potentially coming up here as Dimitri has cleared out 2 loads of Tiberium from the middle of the map. He was already a little bit ahead on total resources gathered, and that blue Tiberium is going to help amp him up even more. Obelisk could be coming in, or it could be charged particle beam shredder turrets as the first purifiers step out from those war factories. It is mass APC here as they show up on top of this war factory. No mine deployment, so they're just going to be fighting this one out one shot at a time. Harvester goes forward, Harvester goes down. Avatar gets a crush as Green Zero backs away from the front line. A couple more APCs will pay the price as they try to exit the base safely, and they die on the retreat command. Green Zero looking for that third base. Dimitri looking for those harvesters. Dimitri's own MCV has packed up. It's heading over towards that third base location, and Tib core missiles have finished up for Dimitri. MCV needs to deploy. MCV needs to unpack. The Pitbull's getting massive damage, down to a very low percentage of health as a Tib core missile fires off on the north side of the map. That catalyst missile crashing into a refinery at the natural expansion, but it's the main base where Green Zero is focused. Dimitri, desperate to save his MCV, gets the engineer, heals it back up to full, and his main base may be assaulted, but he's not too worried about that. Flametank tries to sneak back in at the natural expansion location, tries to burn down the infrastructure as Dimitri finds the late game flame switch to be countered by Green Zero's units. Green Zero backs away from the main base. The refinery still stands. The harvester still stands over there at the main of Dimitri. And these Tib core bikes are unopposed. A watchtower gets deployed, but that is too little, too late. The firepower of the Tib core bikes cannot be matched by such low budget base defenses. Green Zero is going to be hoping to punch through somewhere, but the end result is that he retreated from the main base of Dimitri. He took the damage at his natural, he took the damage at his main, and now these Tib core bikes have upgraded themselves to fully heroic, firing those red rockets at the GDI forces, and the GG comes out as Green Zero throws in the towel for game number 1, and Dimitri continues the win streak versus GZ. No reason to switch it up for game number 2 as Dimitri and Green Zero head to Twilight City for the second match. Dimitri is, of course, hoping to keep up the wins. He is hoping that this black hand will bring him to victory. Green Zero, on the other hand, hoping to, like the first series they played, even up the score 1-1 here in game number 2. Dimitri is feeling good with that black hand play, sending those bikes and buggies all over the map. Eventually, we even got to see some purifiers. Honestly, other than a big man spam transition, Dimitri played just about every angle that you would expect to see from a black hand game. The only thing we didn't get was that big infantry transition. We did not see those black hand infantry upgrades. It was all about the vehicles, which is not typical for black hand. We normally see some kind of infantry transition here or there, but in Dimitri's case, Black hand, no infantry. Not a typical way to play that. Harvesters are here, and on both sides of the map, the harvester counts are looking very normal. Both players happy to play out game number 2 with the same macro orientation of game number 1. And many of the games of this series, that harvester, even though he doesn't look like he's docked, he is actually docked. This is not like a glitch. It is a visual bug, but it's not a glitched harvester in that they are not harvesting. They are performing kind of normally, just not visually lined up. Pitbull gets the scout on Dimitri, gets a little bit of damage on that Conyard, able to chunk away 20% of the Conyard's health. And of course, in that last game, the MCV of Dimitri came dangerously close to being deleted by those Pitbulls, but he was able to save it. And here again, his MCV's health gets chunked out by a Pitbull, but he again is able to save it, at least for now. Green Zero and Dimitri, they have been loving their early game units. In game number 1, it was a War Factory first at the natural expansion. This time, it's a refinery first, and Green Zero will pay the price. He did not see this coming as the bikes swarm in, and they have an opportunity to grab a second harvester. When you're down 0-1, 2 harvester kills feels like the end of the game. Green Zero needs to steel himself and rally to win this match and pull it back from this point on. Pitbull rolls into the base of Dimitri. A couple of bikes traded back in the south. Dimitri happy to delay that natural expansion refinery by oh so much. Mass Pitbull, the name of the game in game number 1. Predator tanks are making their appearance in game number 2, and it is not working out as the third harvester, this one full of Tiberium, gets eliminated. These bikes seem invincible. These attacks seem impossible, and yet Dimitri finds the angle, finds the way, finds the kills. Refinery up at the natural expansion of Dimitri. These two players trading back and forth so incredibly even. 6 games in a row between the upper bracket and the lower bracket. And now in game number 7 between these two in the April strike. Dimitri feels unbeatable. He feels like he's on another level now from Green Zero. Green Zero is going to fight it out, it looks like. So certainly defense can be strong. Defense can be a way to victory. And Green Zero, he may be playing from a lesser position, but he can still pull this one out. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be really hard if Dimitri decides to keep up this aggression. If Dimitri keeps up the production, keeps up the attacks, it's going to be very difficult for Green Zero to hold on. Green Zero needs a couple of minutes to get his feet underneath him, and he's mostly stabilized. He has a decent number of Predator tanks at both bases. He has a decent economy now underneath him with 2 refineries at the natural expansion, and even though it's only 2 harvesters on those refineries, he at least has that stable income base. He can produce watchtowers if he needs. He's got the Predator tanks ready and waiting to go. They may not be in an ideal position as they turn their guns a little too late. 4 or 5 bikes get on top of this harvester. A second volley comes in, and Dimitri finds another kill. They'll command post witness to the death of the harvester. You don't need a scan to know what happened there. Posturing at the main, but the kill happens at the natural. 4 harvesters down for the GDI player. The economy sinking 8 grand, the difference in total resources gathered between these two players. Dimitri ready to explode in either economy or production. He has chosen the multi-MCV life. The War Factory gets sold off. The Hand of Nod is here. Purifying Flame is the only upgrade I want to see, but he's at least got the Black Disciples to lead the infantry to victory. Dimitri says, I think if you get to sit back and harvest up that whole natural expansion, you might have a chance to get out Juggernauts and Sonic Emitters, Hammerheads, and a Marv. I don't want you to do that. Instead, I'd rather base push you. I'd rather have obelisks deployed onto the front line. I'd rather bring my infantry to bear on the front line as the Predators come in for the crush. And perhaps this was a poorly executed and conceived plan by Dimitri, as he had no obelisk, he had no follow-up. There's the obelisk finally deploying, and here's the bikes as the follow-up. Dimitri has the plan, it's just not right there at the front line where the attention was. Harvesters will stand unprotected, undefended, as the bikes swarm in, the buggies find the kills, and Dimitri on the other side of the map has some APCs and Predator tanks to worry about, but he's got the double obelisk drop for the defense, and the GG comes out. Once again, Dimitri gets the win on Twilight City. I don't know who decided to build a house there on Badland Hills, but that was not a great real estate decision. And I'm not sure how much of the rest of this map is a good real estate purchasing option either, because with the flames of the Black Hand rising to meet the firepower of GDI, there may be no place that is safe here on Badland Hills. One of those maps that I have not seen before this tournament, maybe one game on it or something. I don't remember seeing this map very often, but I'm quickly liking it. I like the layout and the general flow of the map, and it seems like the games on it are quite active and competitive. You've got a decent amount of terrain breakup. You've got EMP control centers, as well as the Tib Spikes, as well as the Mutant Hovels. So it's a nice little setup, even a couple of defensive towers in the far north and the far south. I like the games that have been played on this map, and I'm happy to see it yet again. Tournament Oasis, I feel like, is another one of those maps where it's like, maybe Tournament Galaxy is the version 1, and then Tournament something else is the version 2, and Tournament Oasis is like the version 3 of the map. These ideas have been refined, they've been cleaned up and executed better on these various maps, but like Tournament Oasis, it's a very flat and open map, and yet I feel like I've quite liked the games that I've seen on that map as well so far in this tournament. Although I feel like maybe I've seen that map a couple of times before this event. Anyways, Flame Rush coming out, and for those of you who might be coming over from like StarCraft or some other RTS that has a bit more of a limited tournament map pool, a lot of tournaments don't restrict the map pool. So it'd be almost like if in StarCraft 2, every ladder map that had ever been played was available for tournament play. It's a little bit like that, but there's something like 30, 40, or maybe even 50 1v1 maps that could theoretically be played in an event. Some events do limit the map pool to, 11 or 15 maps or something, but a lot of tournaments just say, these are the maps that aren't allowed to be played, and it's like 3 or 4 maps, and then all the rest of them are ready to go. Natural expansion under threat. Green Zero has not been able to curb these flame weapons as they're coming into his base. At least one refinery will go down. This flame tank is going to get very, very close to dying off, but the refinery does fall. Even the Tib silo does die, and this war factory, if it's in range, this just goes from bad to worse for Green Zero. Fortunately, it looks like the refinery is the only thing in range, and the war factory is safe for now. The Pitbulls clean up the bikes, but killing 2 refineries when you're up 2-0 in a best of 5. Again, Green Zero has the opportunity to come back in this game, but it feels like such an incredible uphill climb he has to make. He has to win this game after losing 2 refineries before the 4-minute mark. He has to then win 2 more games beyond this, and it is dire straits indeed for Green Zero. Tib Spike getting flamed down. Dimitri doesn't want to leave any damage that he could have gotten on the table. Green Zero had 2 Tiberium spikes. He had 2 additional refineries, and now neither one of those statements is true. The pit bulls are still here, but the economy of Green Zero has been reset by a full 2 minutes of game time. Natural expansion is now up. Dimitri has just been going hard on his main base and delaying his expansion to make this aggression happen. So the result of Dimitri is that he's got rockets, he's got double war factory, he's got a decent amount of bike buggy that is swinging into the natural expansion. It's not like when you look on the Dimitri side of the map, he is emaciated over there. He's got quite a bit of stuff. He just doesn't have any kind of natural expansion economy to go on. We'll see how quickly Dimitri is able to transition over to that natural expansion. But I actually did not realize there are 3 Tiberium spikes per player on each side of the map. That is a bit of a change. That is not typical at all for Badland Hills. Pitbulls rolling in, bike buggy as well. The bikes have the superior numbers, and the Pitbulls are paying the price. The buggies, actually, I think the Pitbulls have the superior numbers on the bikes, just not on the buggies as well. There's more bike buggy than there is Pitbulls in that little attack squad, and so Green Zero will retreat back to his main base, and Dimitri covering his expansion with this aggression. He can also grab Blue Tiberium. He can send 3 harvesters safely to the Blue Tiberium, clean up the majority of that while his bikes and his buggies are swarming the other side of the map, keeping the pressure on the Green Zero side of things. 1 harvester was left out in the open. Dimitri didn't even defend it, but Green Zero won't get the kill on that Blue Tiberium harvester. Instead, Dimitri will draw the attention to the north away from that harvester. And this Black Hand squad inside of the building needs to switch over to the other building so that he can burn down that Tiberium spike. Cabals on the Tiberium field, rockets corralling those pit bulls, keeping them away from the southern half of the map, forcing them to go north so that they don't have to fight the rockets 1-to-1. Another Black Hand squad moving in. APC is here. No AP ammo. One of the things that Green Zero had to trim from the budget to make this game work. Pitbulls roaming through the middle of the map. They finally find a harvester. They get a kill that they've been looking for 2-3 minutes now, but they will pay the ultimate price. So many Pitbulls going down. Green Zero's defense got that much weaker as the bikes and the buggies swing onto the southern field. There are so many harvesters exposed and open. How many APCs? 3, maybe 4 as 1 harvester goes down, and it looks like the bikes are going to be drawing their fire. 1 harvester goes down, and the bikes actually back away from the fight. AP ammo finishes up as well, so Green Zero's defense just got that much stronger. Dimitri, on the other hand, continues to have almost completely free reign of the map. He has taken so little damage. So few attacks have gone his way. Gone towards his half of the map, rather. Many of the attacks have gone his way in terms of tempo and pacing. And now the Tib Spike is under threat as well. AP ammo has finished up, so in theory that Black Hand could be cleaned up quickly, but unfortunately there's just no units sent to respond. Pitbulls roll into the natural expansion, but that's a trap as they are surrounded by rockets. Everywhere they try to go, there are rocket troopers ready to go toe-to-toe. And Green Zero, he may have started the game down and in a bad spot. All of the attacks may have been focused on the Green Zero side of the map, but slowly but surely, he has caught up in total resources gathered, his economy stabilized, despite the fact that he's lost all 3 Tiberium spikes. And Dimitri keeps finding harvester kills. Another one goes down. Another one is vulnerable as Dimitri gets a second kill. The double is found at the main base. And the MCV is actually going to take a bunch of damage from these APCs. Dimitri says, well, I got an obelisk to help out my MCV. and this is where a Marv is nice, but this Marv is going to have so few units to support it. So few units that can help it out. A Marv against the world when you've got bikes and buggies, when you've got a Redeemer and Purifiers, when you've got man spam rocket numbers, when you've got multi-MCV obelisk. One Marv does not save the game. 2 Juggernauts, 2 Hammerheads. If they can hold off, if the bike buggy don't just swing in and smash the Hammerheads, smash the Juggernauts, this attacking force can do a lot of damage over time. The MCV is here. The Marv has double engineer, double railgun, so it can heal up without a war factory. It can heal up over time. 3 Hammerheads. They're going to cut down those infantry numbers. Dimitri notices that there is perhaps a lack of defense elsewhere on the map. Tibcore has been finished up, and the Hammerhead, one of them does go down. The Juggernauts have started shelling the base. Purifiers are here. The MCV is here, and Dimitri rolls into the natural expansion of Green Zero. 1 Harvester down. A 2nd gets eliminated nearly on the dock. A 3rd out on the field, and Dimitri finds the angle into the natural expansion. The Rage Gen fires off, and the front line collapses as well. The Marv turns his guns on the Juggernauts, and it's going to be a war factory that goes down to the flames of the Black Hand. The Juggernaut collapses underneath the weight of the rockets that smash into it, and Green Zero's front line evaporates as quickly as it was constructed. It has been demolished. The rockets closing in on this MCV. The last stand of Green Zero in the April strike against Dimitri as the Black Hand flames inch closer to his grave. Green Zero will tap out of the game and tap out of the tournament, and with him goes Masterleaf as well from the upper bracket, dropping down to the lower bracket, and then right out of the tournament. So Masterleaf did not finish his matches, which means his opponent, Shoktrepet, gets a bye and will be facing off against Dimitri. But that is for another time, for another day, because this is the end of this video. Huge thanks to the players for participating. A big thanks to the sponsors for putting up the prize pool. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and this is Sybert, signing out.